we may be in a renaissance of video game adaptations. Once the scourge in the side of a lot of gamers out there, public perception and opinion is quickly starting to change. It used to be the case that any kind of adaptation of a video game to TV show or movie would be ridiculed and laughed at because it was glaringly bad, and felt either like some cheap fan project or just so distant from the source material and why people adored it. And that still rings true for some adaptations nowadays. Halo! But over the last few years, higher quality and just more well-constructed adaptations have been releasing. Now, I'm not someone who watches a lot of TV or movies. My preferred medium is video games. But even as someone who has not partaken that much in all of these different adaptations, I think the reason as to why they are doing so well nowadays is blindingly obvious. Look at reception to the new Fallout show. Sure, there's a few fans debating about the timeline and the canonicity of certain events, but on the whole, the main vibe I'm taking away from the Fallout show, and from the few scattered pieces of screenshots that I've seen of it, or the trailers, is that it's trying to at least feel like the games, but not simply try and retell them. Trying to be its own thing while still feeling as if it's from that source material. As if it's not trying to be disrespectful to it, and in essence to you. Take something like the Halo show, for instance. I only ever watched like an episode and a half, because that's all I could really stomach. And there's a few bright spots, namely the action scenes, but whenever a character talks and opens their mouth, it just feels so distant and separated from the source material. And when you have the people in charge of the show almost bragging about not having played the original games, it creates a sour image in the mouth, or at least a taste. And then you hear about the people behind the Fallout show having loved the video games, and it makes sense. Why do people like fan arts or fan songs about their favorite video games or whatnot? Yeah, that entire internet trend that has taken off for the last decade or so, why has that been the case? Because it's made by people who clearly love and adore the source material, and they're sharing their love and adoration for a similar interest with others. And when a show or a movie is able to correctly replicate that feeling, it can feel like a celebration of the original source material, and the biggest and best advertisement that it could get, rather than just a stuck-up art piece that is piggybacking off the IP, but is too intellectually superior and trying to stand above the plebeian video game that came before it. People en masse just don't like to be insulted, and whether or not they're able to be cognizant of whether or not they're being insulted actively or indirectly, that feeling can still exist. If people are watching a Fallout show, they want it to feel like Fallout. If people are watching a Halo show, they want to see Halo. They want to see Master Chief doing a whole bunch of cool things and being like the Master Chief that they all knew and love, and possibly, like myself, grew up with in the games. If people are watching Fallout, they probably want to see some really cool designs for monsters and whatnot, set up or the backdrop of a really barren wasteland. War never changes and all that. My experience with Fallout is extremely small. I played a bit of Fallout 4 way back in the day on the 360, and I really enjoyed it. Never managed to finish it, but what I did play, I enjoyed. And I imagine that if I really dug my feet in and sunk my teeth into Fallout 3 and New Vegas, I would love those games as well. And funny enough, with the reception the Fallout show is getting, it's making me kind of want to do that, despite the backlog I have of games that I need to play. Dude, too many games are coming out, really? Could we just take a second to address this? We need a few more months in this year, there's too many games to play. I digress. And while it does kind of pain me that the main adaptations I really cared about and wanted to see were World of Warcraft and freaking Halo, it's cool to see all these other adaptations work and succeed. Because they're not trying to simply retell a video game story one for one, and this is blindingly apparent even from trailers and advertisement for these materials. Like the Sonic movies. The games are largely gameplay forward. There's a narrative and there's a story going on, don't get me wrong, but the focus is far more on the gameplay side of things. But what do people find cool about Sonic? He's a little blue hedgehog that goes really fast, paired alongside some really cool designs. Make a movie like that. Sure, the original kind of sucked, with ugly Sonic and all that. Meow! Do I need to say anything else? But when you're willing to go back from scratch and completely redesign a character like that, it shows the audience that at least you care. Should you have gotten it right to begin with? Yes, but at least you care and are passionate enough, whether it's for money purposes because you think the movie would have flopped otherwise, whatever. It at least shows an intent of trying to make it better and of listening to community feedback. That matters. That really does matter. And we have seen how successful the Sonic movies have become. Why did a lot of people not like the Halo show? Because it felt like a slap in the face to the source material and everything that the source material stood for. The whole debate about whether or not Master Chief needed to keep his helmet on or not. Like, you could have taken it off in the show, and I don't think most people would have been bothered all that much. People still would have, don't get me wrong, but the ardent defense that came from the show in defense of Master Chief not having his helmet on just made me scratch my head. What do you mean you can't tell a human narrative with emotions and complexity and stuff like that when Master Chief keeps his helmet on? That is the clearest sign, besides them just saying this, by the way, that they haven't played the video games. Any interaction between Chief and Cortana, all of Halo 3, the end of Halo 2, Halo 4, like, did we see the same game of Halo 4? Chief had more emotion there than many other shows and games have with standard character faces. Like I said, if you took Chief's helmet off in the show because there's scenes and certain moments you would want to do that, because you could even argue that it's lore accurate to the books. Again, some people would have kicked up a stink over that, but I don't think people en masse would have cared so long as it was done well. So long as it felt as if it was faithful and happy to be Halo. Does the Fallout show have its issues? From certain fans, sure, especially the New Vegas front, from what I've seen. But on the whole, when you look at the Fallout show, it looks like, oh yeah, they like Fallout, so they made a show about Fallout. You can feel the passion, whether it comes from the designs of the characters or the costumes or whatnot. You can feel it there. It oozes. It emanates from it, even when you haven't seen the show. Does it have to be the best show ever? Does it have to be like Breaking Bad levels? Or Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 6, whatever? No, it doesn't. It just has to be Fallout. It just has to be Halo. It just has to be The Last of Us. It just has to be Sonic. It just has to be Mario. It's unique and individualized. There's no set formula for any of these. Just don't be ashamed of the source material, and don't treat the fan base that grew up, for the most part, with these IP as fools. Why could The Last of Us adapt pretty much the game with a few additional scenes here and there and be largely successful, while a lot of these other adaptations have to take creative liberties or to tell a new story or whatnot? Because The Last of Us, in terms of its overall construction as a game, is far more cinematic, which translates to a movie or show series far more cohesively and naturally than, say, Sonic, or an open world game like Fallout, where you're meant to be out in the wasteland exploring and uncovering these secrets and going into these characters and making your choice. Again, I haven't seen the Fallout show. The idea of having 3 main characters loosely based off of main characters, or at least traits of main characters from previous games, is a brilliant idea. Gives you a little taste of perhaps a playthrough that you used to do into the show. Gives you something to ground yourself with, and then just have fun and treat and make it all of its own, while leaning into the fact that it's Fallout, or Last of Us, or Sonic, or Mario, or whatnot. And when you have a good adaptation, and you get that word of mouth to spread, it gets people who weren't originally that much into these IPs interested in them. I want to go watch the Fallout show to see what it's all about, and maybe that could inspire me to want to dive into New Vegas or Fallout 3. That's the beauty of a good adaptation. It can serve as a natural pipeline for new people to get into the franchise. Fallout's massive. It's been going on for years, and years, and years. And it can be kind of tricky to get into if you never really grew up with Fallout. But when you give people this easy way to naturally funnel into it, I think that's great for longtime fans and people who will become longtime fans. A lot of the times, it's easy to be pessimistic about the industry at large, and I've been pessimistic at times as well. But I think every now and then, it's fine to be optimistic and to simply enjoy things. It's not like the Fallout show needs to be some kind of revolutionary piece of media or whatnot. It just needs to be Fallout. Because being Fallout and being Halo is more than enough. One IP understood this and the other didn't. And we have seen Fallout, even in a time where we haven't gotten a Fallout game in so long, besides 76, but we don't talk about that one. Though I hear it got better. Yeah, like I heard that it got better. Even in a time where there's no real big news for of Fallout in the form of games, the adaptation come out and just respark interest. And perhaps this could lead lovingly into Fallout 5 when that game comes out in like 2040 at this point. But with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really help the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below with your favorite adaptation from a game and your least favorite adaptation or your most hated one. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. I haven't seen too many, but I actually kind of liked the Warcraft movie. It was not that good, don't get me wrong, but it was fun seeing the orcs do orc things, you know? Need I talk about Master Cheeks? Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. I may go watch the Fallout show. Who knows? Stay safe. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll meet again.